All right, let's do this. Get this thing started. Tonight is the 10th?
Yes.
It is April the 10th, 2013. This is Management 3025. We are meeting for the last time before the exam, which is 2 weeks from tonight, in this room at 6 o'clock. Bring a Scantron. And by now you have the test banks for all the chapters, all 8 chapters. And that's where we're going. Now, we've been chatting for a moment about the disc profile and the fact that a couple of y'all have taken it at different times and seen differences in the results. Ideally, if I were going to administer that to you, I would spend 30 minutes with you asking you to relax and think back on your previous work environments and maybe even share them with me. What was the best job you ever had and what made it so good? And I'll try to put your mindset into those channels of work. What do I like about work? What do I dislike? What have been the good experiences, the bad experiences, the good people, the bad people? If I can get you settled down into that and relaxed and not distracted, not worrying about your coworkers or whatever else is going on, the communication is going on here, then we can get a true reading. But if you take it without that preparation, it can go all over the block. And so literally we change with our circumstances superficially. Down deep, there's still those core elements, and we have to try to sometimes dig to discover them. And those do change also over time. Now, you mentioned that you had been initially a CIS?
Yes, sir.
CIS, somewhere up in here, down here. And then you became, under pressure, a D, maybe a DI, and everything else is down here. And what we know is that people that have the C and the I and the S pretty much above the halfway line are generally pretty chameleon-like, pretty flexible. They tend to adapt and match with whatever situation of people they're dealing with. And they're usually pretty good to get along, and in being pretty flexible, they can deal with a wide variety of people. But when they get under pressure, when things really get tight, this person becomes this person. Not usually for a very long time, usually just long enough to resolve the crisis. Once they've resolved it, they calm down. And that's, again, it's an effective way to manage too. You'll be an SOB if you have to, and only for as long as you need to. And once you got everybody's head screwed on back straight, and they're all sitting up on the tracks and ready to go, now we can relax and let's get on with it. It's a good style in most settings. If you overdo it, if you swing to one extreme or the other, people think you're bipolar or you're just a hypocritical SOB. So you want to kind of avoid that. Okay? What else is on your mind? Life in general? This course? Other courses? How are your other courses going? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, both of us had actually turned in like flash drives for DC3. Can you get those back?
You get your flash drives back. You betcha. I hope I have yours here. I brought every one I could put my hands on. If you don't find yours here,
There's 3 of the same color.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of SOM ones up there.
Mine has my name on it.
well, yeah, they all have names on them.
I take it off.
Oh.
Just for a cat.
So only take yours, right? But I'll invite you to help yourself to those here when we take a break or when we wrap up. But yes, I did remember that. I'm very proud of that too. I also want to crow about another success. I had a student write me just before I came to class and said, "You haven't asked me for any of my writing assignments, and I'm afraid that I missed your email. I am panic-stricken and just absolutely terrorized. Could you please write me back and let me know? Because I have every one of them ready." And I thought to myself, I win. Ha, that's all I wanted, right? Get them ready. I'll be sending notifications out, if not tonight, tomorrow, in staggered bunches and say, submit them, okay? No big deal. I got 2 weeks to wade through those. And absolutely no other life, so that'll be real easy. Okay, what else? Anything else? Max?
I just got out of a horrible living situation.
How many of us have ever had that experience? And?
Like you just said, I became a D for all of 10 minutes, and it broke down to, I asked him to take out, I had a guy sleeping on my couch for 4 months and asked him to take out the trash before he went to bed, and he told me he would do it after work the next day. And I told him, well, how about you give me $50 for at least part of the 3 months of rent that you owe me for sleeping on my couch? And he responded with, I left my wallet at work. And so I just started walking away and over my shoulder yelled, yeah, that's what everybody says when I loan them money and ask for it back. They left their wallet somewhere else.
Nice.
The next day, he pops in before work is over. What are you doing here so early? I quit my job, and he starts packing up all his stuff and he moves out.
He just needed a slight push. How long had this tension been going on?
All semester.
All semester. Why didn't you react sooner? And I'm not picking on you because this is true of probably all of us. Why didn't you react sooner?
Because I just got home and
Actually,
I don't know. I just couldn't react.
Good answer. Good answer.
actually, Max, you told me this story, I think. Didn't you help him out before this already?
Yeah, I helped him get the job.
And also, but
then
you also tried to
you're new.
get him to go to Santa Fe so he could get financial aid, and then that would also help bring in income for him too, didn't you?
Oh
Weren't you
no,
trying to do something like
that's
that?
that's my roommate.
That's another guy?
Yeah, that's another bad.
Anybody need to borrow some
I was
money?
going to say, or you need a couch because it's open.
Like, but it's the whole point that you're trying to be supportive the entire time, proactive, and then finally when you realize there's nothing, it's a helpless case, that's when you went the other direction with it.
Yeah, I was trying to support him the entire time and just help him out because I thought for a while, if I kicked him out, he was going to go move in the woods and live there. And I didn't want to do that to a person. I just couldn't do that to a person.
Well, you need to tighten up here if you're going to be in the management. You got to be able to learn how to cut throats. You know? I'm being facetious, but he's talking about probably the single most common issue we have in management, particularly at frontline and lower level management. One-on-one is somebody isn't performing, and how far do you let it go? And what do you do? And we're initially drawn towards, most of us, trying to correct it, trying to support them, trying to give them some guidance here. And a lot of folks, and I got to tell you this, that's my life story at Santa Fe, is I get students in the classroom, and I get three kinds of students. I get the ones who don't care and ain't going to do nothing. I get the ones who really care and they do everything and more. Then I get what I call the ones on the margin. And maybe with enough help, enough support, enough encouragement, I can make them perform. But how far do you go with that? How much slack do you cut them before you eventually look at them and say, not worth my time? One of my rationales has become, and maybe it's just a rationale, they're just not ready for it yet. This person is not ready to be here. They're a good person, they got great motivation, they just don't quite have the focus and the discipline. And maybe I'm salving my conscience by saying that, but I am sure cutting my investment. I'm not spending a lot of time and effort in trying to save those lost souls. And that's one of the things we got to remember doing when we're working with people. You got two issues here. One is you want to do the best you can for the person, but you got to keep asking, what is it costing me? And then, what is it costing the company? And more broadly, what is it costing the other people that work with them? What happens when you have somebody in your office who's just a slacker, what I call a satisficer? They're barely doing enough to get by and stay out of trouble. What does that do for everybody else? Yeah, the rest of us are picking up the slack. And because we don't want to be bad people, we don't complain about it for a while. And this person suddenly sets up a pattern. They come in late, they go home early, they take long breaks. And I'm watching heads out there going, and at some point, somebody usually comes over to the boss and says, I need a couple of minutes with you. I need to talk to you about so-and-so over there. But until that happens, everybody else is angry, depressed, demoralized, and your credibility goes right down the tubes. So, yeah, you've got to respond to it. But what's the other side of it? If you try to respond and correct every single malfunction that happens, not only will you turn into a nervous wreck and an SOB, you'll lose the credibility and respect of everybody working for you. So it's a spectrum, it's a balance. How much of each do you do? But I'll tell you the biggest sin 95% of managers can commit. They let it go too far. They don't, and it's It's not that they don't want to intervene or say something. It's they don't know how. And if we could set up a lab to do it, I would have every one of you on camera counseling another student as though they were an employee. Okay? Milton, you've been working here for, what, 3 months now. In the last 3 months, and here's one of the important parts, quantify it. What can I measure? The last 3 months, you've come in late 7 times. I said something to you 3 times. You promised me you would correct it. Okay? That didn't happen. That's your first warning. Just me and you, okay? Clean it up. Second time, what happens? You remember what I said last time? Here's a couple of things that's happened since then. I've made a little written note on this. I'd like you to just sign that I told you these things. Okay? Once you sign it, what have I got?
Documentation.
I've got documentation and a virtual admission. Okay? If you don't agree with it, just write anything you want at the bottom of it. But most folks are going to say, yeah, you're right. Especially if you cut them some slack and you know how to read the litany to them, you know. On this date you did such and such. On this date you did such and such. On this date you did such and such. How much emotion do you hear in what I'm saying? No emotion. That's why we don't want to react when we're angry. We want to run back in our desk, close the door, shut the blinds, and start writing and make a note to ourselves. But don't say anything till you're over it. And then very unemotionally lay it out, you know. And depending on your company and their policies, there's going to be a set of gradually increasing severity punishments that build up. But nobody should be losing a job. Nobody should be put on any kind of, you know, temporary, you're out of here for a while, as a surprise. You should never be going to somebody saying, you've done this for so long, you're fired. If that's the first time you talk to them, you're a failure. And you, by the way, are a coward. You didn't have the courage to say something to him beforehand. And so there's an art to it of how do you say something to somebody in a kind and yet at the same way strict way that says, this is really great, but I can't tolerate that. And if you can practice that, I practice it in the shower sometimes, you know, or in shaving in the mirror, talking to myself. I can remember as a lieutenant in the Army, man, I'd be going through, what am I going to say to Sergeant so-and-so? He's really screwing this stuff up. And you rehearse it, and you try to come across the best way you can. But you can't be too soft, you can't be too hard. But if you wait too long, not only do you lose credibility with all your people, your boss will hear about it. You don't want that to happen. Milton, you're about to say something.
Well, for those meetings, I actually make a little outline for myself.
Oh, absolutely.
It keeps me on, so I don't forget a topic that's important to cover, because your responses might include a lot of emotion, and you might be sidetracked. But doing that, I think this week I'm going to finally win the battle, but I've got a long-time performance issue on attendance and tardiness, and for customer service front position, that's very, got to answer the phone when it rains, when we're open. And gotten to the point a couple of times, but my upline is not supported once it got to suspension level, going through the progressive discipline. As I was probably slower to get there, I did more counseling up front. Hindsight,
Maybe should have cut
just
short.
went ahead and stepped through. But we, you know, to the point of termination hearings, then that wasn't upheld, it was overturned. We got to there and then was overturned. Well, let's give a last chance agreement. Okay, this is the third or fourth last chance you said for me to give so-and-so. And now, I've seen no improvement since that.
Well, he's figured the system out.
In a few weeks,
Or
right?
she, whichever.
So, but I think I'm finally gonna, because it's the personal thing. My boss, well, single parent, this, that. At some point, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not that I very much like this person as a person.
Yeah, but they're not pulling the
And
job.
that's what, but it's killing everybody else in my team, and I'm feeling like I'm losing credibility, although my team members know that I've pushed it to the next level and I'm not, but at the same time, it's a bad spot to be in.
Couple of
Because you
comments.
can't really fix it for the rest of your staff.
No. But from the get-go with your boss, remember that you've got to be leading not just the people working for you. In many cases, you've got to be leading your boss. And I don't mean leading by the nose, but creating a real good rapport, constant feedback, not brown-nosing, but saying, let me tell you what I got going on, I think I can handle it. Keep them in the loop, so they become, gradually you want to persuade them over to your point of view. And then you get more support, because if you don't, frequently they're in their own little world, or they got their own different value system, and then we're really struggling uphill. And we've all been in that boat with those kind of people. Try this for a second.
I was gonna say, is this the first time you had to do this? And are you trying to
Oh,
feel
no,
out
this is,
instead of you?
it's sad how long this has gone on.
That is so
To
commonplace.
the point of 2 consecutive annual performance reviews below expectations, which, according to our employee policies, is an automatic fireable.
Offense.
But the department director decided to make an exception.
I'm going to pay you $40,000 a year. You work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You take 2 weeks off. Okay. That means you work 2,000 hours a year, give or take. So I am paying you effectively $20 an hour. You with me there? That's round ballpark figure. Let's say that you come in 20 minutes late, 3 days a week. Okay? Then you're getting 1 hour per week. You're getting $20 you didn't earn. You with me so far? In the course of the 50 weeks that you work for me, you're going to get $1,000 that you didn't have to earn, but everybody else in this section was here and did earn it. They don't like it, and I'm not going to put up with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? One more time. Repeat after me. One more time. You're gone. Now, what does that come across as being mean? Just fed up with it. Not emotional. Just here it is. But this kind of calculation, I think, is kind of useful, at least for some people, to make the point. I paid you $1,000 more than I paid them this year because you didn't earn it. Now, if that doesn't trouble you, then I'll attack you from another angle. But if you've got any kind of integrity or personal values, that should strike a bit of a chord.
I haven't done that. I went with the fact of you've missed X percent of your scheduled work hours.
Okay?
And then of that, this percentage of those missed hours have been leave without pay because you've exhausted all leave.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one, too.
And I quit signing timesheets a long time ago because I'm not authorized at my level to approve leave without pay. That's supposed to go to the director's level. So I just keep disapproving it and documenting. And like I said, I'm going to win eventually, but it should have been won a year ago.
I think what you just said is the essence of what we face in management. I'm going to win eventually, but it's a long, slow slug up that hill. And a lot of times we change.
You know, we're wearing out the good people.
Yes,
By
sir.
having to cover this. And
Amen.
that's my bigger concern.
I got to give it to you
I've
from.
gotten over.
I got to give it to you from
oh,
my
it's gonna bother me
perspective.
to fire
Okay.
somebody. I've got past that.
Look at here. I started off with 84 people in this class. I'm down to less than 50. You want to take a wild guess at how many hours I have spent grading papers for people who just gave up and quit, or who never really tried? You don't think I'm a little bitter about that? I'm making myself up a rubber stamp. It says, don't waste my time or your energy. Boom, fail. I'm fed up with having, I can say this to y'all because you're still here.
Just don't read our
I'll talk
papers.
about it.
Yeah, just don't read our papers when you're listening.
It's the same thing. When you find yourself spending 20% of your time with 2% of your people, that's just not right. You're burning up the good people. Not right. Now, periodically, we need to kind of take a step back and assess and say, is that what's going on? And maybe we've got a couple of people we can talk to. Maybe somebody that understands the situation and can give us, act like a mirror or a sounding board and say, you know, maybe this, maybe that. But you hit two wonderful points. It takes a long time sometimes, and you're using up the good people to pick up the slack for the bad ones. You're not just punishing the good people and yourself. You're rewarding the slacker. And you document everything.
So that's why you want all the writing assignments after trial.
Nice.
If you want to think of it that way.
Who did I tell that to? I told that to somebody. I told that to somebody yesterday. I was like, I don't blame him for waiting.
No, not really. Although I hadn't really thought about it, but I think that is useful in the sense that if you haven't dropped yet, you damn sure better get those writing assignments in.
Yeah.
Right? Management technique number 47. Cool. Okay, anything else going on? Sir?
I have one. I'm not a master of one thing, but I'm like good at a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't show up very well on a resume because it's not like I helped improve this project and reduce its production time by 15%. I have nothing like that. I'm the guy who cleaned the door really nice the other day. I mean, that's
You're a jack of all trades.
jack of all trades. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very much.
Ah.
Thank you. Terrible at it.
Well, the term for that is flexible.
That's how you spin it.
Adaptable.
When I look at examples, though, it's always like, talk about when you were like the top of your class. Like I was, 25 in my class. It doesn't really do much of anything. So I was just wondering, for besides adaptable, which was great, I might use that now. But that's one bullet point. I want to make sure that I have at least.
Was there only 25 people in your class?
Yeah.
So good.
25 out of 300.
I knew them
You
all.
might be okay.
Except Johnny. No one talked to Johnny.
Johnny, we don't talk about Johnny.
No.
Johnny broke the curve.
What you're talking about is what we would be going through if we were building resumes and cover letters. And cover letters are a real good option when you can't see somebody face to face to lay out and embellish with a little more detail what you have done. In your case, what I would say is let's go out someday and have a beer for lunch and talk for a couple hours, and you tell me everything you've ever done. And I will be trying to make you focus on some things you did right that you just forgot about, that you did well on, and you just haven't thought about it. And then we'll find ways to express that are much more positive.
I'm buying.
That's cool. No problem.
So other than flexible and adaptable, you have any other terms?
Quick learner.
Oh, I like that one too.
Because I think he's also
Seeks-
talking about his paper, because we're supposed to be doing the letter of recommendation, so he's
Yeah.
probably having a hard time
Yeah.
figuring out what to say.
Seeks responsibility and challenges.
Yeah.
I think a team player can come in there.
Team player,
if
absolutely.
Part of what you're doing is helping other people.
I'm a team player and in fact a utility player because they put me wherever something is not being done right and I tend to be the one that fixes it. And
You're the punch list guy.
And it is really tough for me to do a resume. I spend like 14 hours trying to write a resume, and I just keep like going
Boy, it
back
doesn't
to
get
it
any
because
easier,
I
don't worry
can't
about
do it. It's really tough.
Even when
I
you have a
write
lot
resumes.
on there.
The best thing you can do is jot things down don't ever write from scratch. Build one up one time and then
I
just
have
add to it, edit it.
I have like 25 different resumes.
I mean, the bad thing is,
You did a job.
I'm having to do the same thing. I'm having to do that in my English class. I'm having to write my resume. I'm like, my resume from high school is, from a high school level, it's like, okay, this works in high school, and it has all the deeds I have done now, but the format's nowhere near what it should
All right.
be at a professional.
first thing is on your desktop, get a folder and say resume stuff. And every time you think of something you've done, write it out as rough as it is, no particular format, slap it in that folder.
Oh, like a project that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I remember I had the paper route and I did, okay, blah, 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 blah. And you just making these little documents and you're throwing them in that folder, and then once every 6 months or so, you sit down, you open it up and you start reading them and you say, well, that's garbage. That's stupid. That didn't make any, oh, well, damn, I forgot about that. And then you start trying to clean it up.
Okay.
And once you get that resume built, you continue to do that, and then you periodically update the resume.
Okay.
Now, formats on resume, a lot of variation. But one of the things people are doing is they're keeping their resume on LinkedIn permanently. And you keep that updated all the time. That way anybody that you run into, you can say, well, here's my LinkedIn address. If you're on LinkedIn, you can go see my resume right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's work on it. Let's clean it up. No
I don't
problem.
have LinkedIn. Should probably get on that.
I don't have much use for it, but I'm not out looking for a job anymore. Nobody will hire me. So I don't use it either. But I have a hell of a lot of people contacting me saying, can we connect on LinkedIn? Yeah, sure.
It's a good networking tool.
All right. I'll have to look into it. Probably
Good.
see people I knew.
Yeah. One of your classmates, Pete Mambelli, the guy that plays piano, long hair, Pete was by the other day talking to him, and he loves Flickr. Flickr is a website where you usually you share photos. but you can also share kind of a blog on yourself. And he loves that as a means of social media and networking in some of the areas he's into. He's building I hope I'm not talking out of line, he's building a sailboat that he's going to sail all the way up the East Coast one day. And he is on there with pictures of what he's done and blogs about it, and has several people who are so interested in that they're communicating constantly. So Flickr's another option, and I'm sure there are a lot of others. And how many of you built a website before? Is it very hard?
It's like starting a car.
Not from what I've seen. I haven't actively built one, but it doesn't.
I have built one, and I am the proofreader for the Idiot's Guide to Most Things. There's an outfit called, I think it's Wix, and also Webs. Wix.com, W-I-X, Webs.com. I forgot what I'm giving them, $20, $30 for a year, something like that. And you go on there and you build your own website. You bring your pictures in, write your own copy. You can cut and paste your resume. And for that kind of money, is it worth it to have your own website? I think so. It's kind of a, here's my photo album of the things I like to do. And hopefully there's nothing in there that's going to disgust people. And there's, pictures of you doing volunteer work and getting an award for this and shaking hands with the college president or whatever like that. That can be a real promo tool. And believe me, it's not difficult. I haven't put mine online yet because I haven't gotten it where I want it, but it's very easy to put stuff in there. So, other thoughts, other comments? If you will remind me, I'll send you or give you a copy of a sample resume you could use, and if you like it, you steal the parts of it you like,
Okay.
and a sample cover letter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I won't copy it, but I'll at least get some inspiration.
I made it up 20 years ago. It's totally fictional about from some young lady that graduated college and did all this stuff, and here's her cover letter. She's applying for this job, but it gives you a sense of the flow and the way you can talk about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's something most of us aren't trained to do and aren't encouraged to do. How do you talk about how great you are? Unless you're a D.
I would say Polished Professionals is having a resume workshop tomorrow from 2 to 3 in the I building.
From 2 to 3?
In I building, Polished Professionals is a student organization that's really focused on persona, image, professionalism, etc. Probably be worthwhile. And, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that, Don. Administrative announcement, a week from tomorrow night, on the 18th. 5:30 for refreshments. 6 o'clock for a panel discussion. In C-122, the student organization for the SOM program, Sigma Omicron Mu, is putting on a panel of 4 speakers. They're going to give them a few questions to answer and then open it up and see if they have things they want to talk about. And they're all local business people who will give us insight on what they're seeing going on in this area and in their types of businesses. And I can't remember all 4 of them. One is from the Girl Scouts, which if you've ever thought about nonprofit work, I would imagine she can give us some pretty good insight as to goods and bads about that. One is the franchise owner for Papa John's Pizza in this area. He's big medicine. He's successful. He knows what. He's been around the block. He just published an article in Home magazine in Gainesville on employee fraud, theft. He was citing statistics that something like 30% of the small businesses that fail in America do so because their employees steal from them. And Mr. Hooper, who teaches the accounting course, I saw his comment on that article. He says when he did a survey of convenience stores around the state some years ago, and they found out that most of their fraud, their theft, was coming from the people delivering the inventory. The guy would come in to deliver beer, then he'd wind up stealing, all the pretzels and all the other stuff. He wouldn't steal his own stuff, but he'd steal everything else. So it was huge. So that person from Papa John's Pizza has undoubtedly got some insight. Would you want to be in the franchise business?
No.
No? Why not?
It's too much money to get started.
No, I don't mean start your own. How about if he said, I need somebody, A, to work in one of my Papa John's, And I want you to work there for 6 months to learn the whole operation of the store. Then I want you to manage a store. And after you've managed a store successfully for 2 or 3 years, I will then promote you and put you in charge of 6 stores in an area.
With a game plan like that, I'm on board. But if I'm 3 years working in the back making pizzas, no.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely right. If you're still there after 3 years, either something wrong with you or something wrong with him. Right? So we have that little come to talk meeting. Yeah. I think that the franchise business has a real future still in this country. It's still growing, new things coming along. And the management aspects of that would be tremendous. And then we have,
Director from Shams.
I understood it was a hospital administrator from the VA.
Oh, yeah, VA, not
Yeah,
Shams.
yeah. And who is a graduate of our Health Services Administration bachelor's degree, who went on to get a master's degree and is now doing very well with VA. And you can imagine that the management potential in there is huge in hospitals and healthcare generally, not just the VA. And we have a fourth speaker whom
He's an entrepreneur, he's a business owner.
who owns.
I don't remember.
It's the piano shop that Paul works at.
Oh, good, good. Paul Toussaint is our senator for SOM, and he works in a business where they refinish and repair pianos and violins and stuff like that. And his boss is going to come in and talk. And they're going to be asking him questions like, you know, what are the worst things you can do if you're looking for a job? What are the best things? What's the biggest mistake you can make with a resume or in a job interview? And then, you know, if we can just get a couple of questions going to open them up and get them talking, it could turn into a really pretty cool evening. I would recommend if you come, if you have business cards, bring them. Dress suitably, if not a tie, at least, you know, something like this or the equivalent.
What day?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, the 18th, 5:30, C122.
I'll have to bring my little brother.
I'm actually,
Why? That sounds threatening. Why is that?
Because he owns his own video game, toy, and board game reselling and buying a
Bring him as a
company.
guest, by all means.
He calls it Apocalyptic Games. He makes all of his money off Amazon.com. He pulls in $1,500 a week usually.
Cool.
dear Lord.
Well, he spends most of it on more stuff he sells.
Are you sure it's a business and not a hobby?
It's a business.
Okay.
He's building it up. I think he just paid taxes. Yeah. He put almost $5 grand into taxes this year.
Good for him.
Yeah.
America appreciates it. All right. That was my show and tell. Anything else from you? I take direction well. You just tell me to move.
Anything in particular we need to be taking out of the Caproni text coming up for this test?
Just those study questions that are on Angel. They are study questions by chapter.
Okay.
And I don't recall that there are very many of them on the second half.
I found one of the study questions kind of funny.
I'm sorry?
For chapter 10, I found one of the study questions to be quite funny. The keys to happiness,
Uh-huh.
limited to 12 pages. And when I first thought of that, I'm like, there's only one word. Only one word. And
Money?
It's not even money. It's nothing ludicrous. I've always thought this is my key to happiness because it always made me happy. Tacos.
Tacos?
I've always liked food.
The key to happiness, tacos.
Food makes me happy. Yeah.
Sounds pretty Zen Buddhist from here. I don't know.
I mean, it's not everyone's key to happiness, but to me, food's the way to get to someone's true feelings about things. You can get a good discussion out of them when you're talking with them over food. You can have a great party with great food. Your party would suck without good food.
What if you don't like people?
If you don't like people, you can eat alone.
That's great. Bingo!
Here's your taco.
Yeah.
Should we be planning on bringing our calculator and all to this?
Absolutely. When we do these calculations up here, I have assigned you all of the time value of money calculations. Hopefully you have worked through them and you're familiar with them. So if you've got some issues, tonight we solve them. Tonight we'll go through the real short cost, volume, profit, break-even type stuff. Yes, those will be on the exam. And that part of the exam will be competency number 6. Okay?
Will this be due that Monday before or the night of the exam, competency 6? It's going to be on
And this is just practice, right?
Those are just practice.
Okay.
It's actually part of the test.
The test will be similar questions on the same material.
So we won't have a DC 6 due that Monday?
No, you'll finish it when you finish your exam, which won't take more than 4 hours, 4.5. You think I'm going to be here for 4.5 hours?
Should
Think
you write
again.
12 pages on happiness?
Yeah, 12. Right. Now, John Spence said to the effect of happiness is living a life where your everyday actions and behaviors and experiences are in consonance with your deepest internal values. And I thought that was pretty well said. What are the most important things in the world to you? What are your values? And if you ever take a good long look at that, you start asking, what kind of life am I leading? What am I doing? Is this what I want to do? And when those are congruent, life's good. I thought that was, again, pretty Zen Buddhist, but pretty sound. Okay, anything else?